Welcome back to Smoky Ribs. I'm Russ Jones. Today I'm doing something that I've never quite seen before. It's plate ribs, plate short ribs, but they're boneless. They're completely boneless. These have been cut off of the bone. We're going to get started right after this.
If you wanna cook backyard barbecue till you get your feel, you come to the right place. Russ Jones Smoky Ribs. Smoky Ribs. Smoky
So let me show you what I'm working with. These are plate ribs. This is Wagyu from Wodagyu. Wodagyu is a farm, a ranch out in Texas, and it's family owned. This is 100% natural, no hormones added, and it's all their meat has been aged for 21 days. So look at it. This is almost the size of a, actually it's a little bit longer, but about the size of a brisket flat. And that's exactly the way this is going to cook up without the bones. You'll be able to slice these into any thickness you want. Normally, with bone in, you would have to cut between the bones for that really thick cut of meat. This would be more like a brisket. And so that's exactly what we're working with here. So I've got a little bit of fat here. You can see all the intramuscular fat running through here, but since it is Wagyu beef, we're going to remove any excess. This side actually looks pretty good. Now the back side, I've got this fat right in here. A lot of you are probably thinking, don't remove that layer of fat. Don't do it. That's flavor, man. Well, you know what? This meat is slap full of intramuscular fat. Just take a look. Look at all this. Look at those strips of fat there. Plenty of fat. I'm not going to remove every last piece, but I am going to remove the majority of it. And the reason being, I want my rub to come in contact with the meat itself, not the fat. So I'm going to do something a little bit different. This is going to be more of an experiment today. I'm going to take and cut this as close to half as what I can. And one half of these I'm going to do is dry ribs, which means they will not be wrapped throughout the entire process. And the other half I am going to wrap, and we will sauce these at some point. But I've got to pick a sauce that's going to pair well with beef. We'll be showing that a little later on. But for right now, I'm just simply going to cut these about right here. On the dry ribs, I'm going to be doing a salt, pepper, garlic. More of a Texas style, but we'll have the garlic addition. True Texas is pretty much just salt and pepper. So I'm going to take this SPG and we're just going to apply a nice liberal coat all the way around this rib section here. We're going to get our edges. Don't miss anything. No, I'm not using a binder. There's enough salt in this to where it should start pulling moisture out of this meat, and it will kind of create its own binder. Besides that, it's sticking very well. Now I have not even began to start this pit. I am using a Lonestar Grillz offset, which means it's probably going to take me a good hour just to get that up to temperature and get it leveled out and balanced out. And that'll give this time to do its thing and let some of that salt penetrate into this meat. Ooh, that smells good. On this other section, I'm going to be using Raichlen's Project Smoke. This is a Santa Fe rub with a henna coffee. It's going to go good on this beef. It's actually like a good steak seasoning. So there again, we're going to put a nice amount on here. I'm going to do the top, the bottom, the sides. I'll bring you right back. Alright, so we got our rub on both of these. Going to go out here, we're going to get the fire going on the offset. And so you know, this is the larger plate section that Wodagyu offers. They also have a smaller section that they offer as well, and you'll see the options on their website, large and small. There's going to be a 20% off code in the description box if you want to go over there and check Wodagyu out. we're getting ready to take a look at these ribs. Been running 1 hour exactly, and I'm running about 235 degrees according to this thermometer, which is above the grate level. At grate level, I'm showing 228. So I'm running a really good low and slow, exactly where I need to be. I've only added 1 log since we began this, and I just put that on about 10 minutes ago. So we're gonna go ahead and flip this open. This thermometer out of the way. Let's pull it out, see what we're looking like. Oh yeah. Tell you what I'm gonna do. I wanna go ahead and flip these over for more even cooking. They're about the same color on each side. Now this one naturally has a darker look to it because of that rub I used. And this one here is the one that we're doing the dry rib on. We're not gonna wrap it. It's got the salt, pepper, garlic, the SPG. And that's starting to get a nice color on that. When I reach 160 degrees on the one I'm going to wrap, we're going to go ahead and give it a wrap. At 160, we should be having a nice color by then. But meantime, I'm just going to go ahead and close this lid. Going to let it rock. We've been going an additional 1 hour and 20 minutes. And so that's a total of 2 hours and 20 minutes. We're going to go ahead and open this. Take a look. So according to the thermometers inside the meat, and as you can see, one is thicker than the other. I'm reading about 152 on this one. I'm reading 160 on this one. This one I'm getting ready to wrap. It's got a very dark color. That's because of the rub. It's not for any other reason. It's not close to being burnt or anything. If it wasn't for that rub, it would look just like this one, which is starting to take on a really nice color. But one thing I want to talk about real quick is, I don't know if you noticed the thickness of both of these. When I started, they were much thinner, and that is very typical of beef ribs. It's also very typical of any meat. People talk about how a picanha or brisket will poof up. It's not really poofing up. I mean, it really is, but what's happening is the meat is shrinking and the meat is going up. A hamburger will do the exact same thing. So that's what's happening here. We lost a lot of the size, but we gained it in the depth, which is nice because as we slice into that, it's going to be some nice thick slices. Y'all will never believe who just stopped in for a visit on his way to vacation. Justin from Baby Back Maniac. What's up, man?
You'll let anybody come in here, won't you?
I swear, just come on.
Just wandered in off the street.
Talking about a surprise, he texted me about, what, 20 minutes ago?
Yeah.
And said he was in the neighborhood and wanted to stop by here and see me if I had time. I'm like, absolutely. And I just had to do this clip. And y'all heading to where?
We're going to Orange Beach, Alabama for a little family vacation. We were actually in Baton Rouge last night. We saw Troy.
Okay.
His grandmother lives there, and he wanted me to meet his grandmother.
Awesome.
So I got to meet the famous Mama Jean, and we went out to dinner with him, and now we're heading through. And I just wanted to come over and say hi and shake your hand.
Heck yeah, man! I'm glad to meet you finally.
Yeah.
You know, finally. Well, you know where I live, so one of these days we're plan another trip to come down here. We'll do a big collab or something like that, possibly.
Totally.
You know,
yeah. And
get some other YouTubers involved.
Yeah, and if you're ever in Dallas, pop by my place. This would be fun.
Absolutely will, brother. Ain't no doubt about it.
All right.
Very good to see you.
Good to meet you, man. This is weird because I feel like I've known you forever.
Oh, I know. It's like when you walked around the corner, I'm like, man, he looks just like he does on video. Imagine that.
That's what I said.
Exactly the same.
We just followed the smoke trail, by the way. As soon as we opened the door, we knew we were at the right house.
I do kind of like the Indians did with the teepees and the the smoke and everything.
Justin,
just send the
come
signals.
This way.
Right over here, brother. Justin from Baby Back Maniac, him and his family just left on their way on their vacation. Man, that was just fantastic. Finally getting to meet him. All right, we're going to take a look at this meat and see what's going on with it. Let's open her up. Oh man, that is looking fantastic. Let's do a probe on this one. I am showing 213 degrees. Oh my goodness, that is just falling through there. This is more than ready. So we're going to remove this probe. Let's do a probe on this one. And yep, it still has some resistance in areas. That's feeling pretty tender towards the outer parts. Tough there. So let's see what the bottom side looks like. Look at the color on that, man. That is nice. I'm gonna go ahead and flip it over. We're gonna leave it about center here. We're gonna remove this. I'm gonna take and wrap that, put it in a cooler and just let that hang out. It'll remain hot, and that carryover will still continue to cook that somewhat. I'm gonna place this one about dead center. We're gonna close her back up, and we're gonna keep cooking until this one proves tender. And I'll bring you back at that point. We're gonna do some taste test. All right, so now let's take a look and see what we're looking like on the unwrapped version. Do us a little quick probe test. Ooh, that's looking good. That's looking really good. Let's do a probe here. That's probing great. Absolutely fantastic. Nice. Let's see what our actual temperature is. It's showing about 201 degrees. So that goes to show you that different meats will probe tender at different temperatures. So you can't always go by internal temp. This just happens to be heavy with fat. So most meats that are just riddled with fat, like Wagyu, doesn't take as long to cook. And we're going to remove this. I'm going to put it on a pan. We're going to tin it with foil. I'll meet you inside. We're going to do a taste test after this rests for a few minutes, and we're going to see which one is the best. Got them both in the house. This one right here has been resting roughly 20 minutes while we got everything in. This one's been resting for about an hour and a half. So there's about an hour and a half difference from the time that these were ready to when these were ready. So there's your difference in wrapping. That's one plus right there. It really expedites the time. So let's take a look at these ribs and see if there's any other pluses or maybe minuses. I'm going to start with these since this was the first ones to come off. And they are still hot. Going to dispose of the foil. Now those look pretty dark inside. I'm telling you, outside you get a lot better color. That's just the nature of camera. So if that's looking a little too dark to you, that's why. Now let me figure out which way the grain is running here real quick, because I really don't remember. All right, I'm pretty sure the way this is cut that the grain is running this way. I really can't tell by looking at it. So we're just going to slice across, and we're going to see by looking at the end. Let's take a look at that. That is definitely across the grain. Look at the juiciness on that. Oh my goodness. Totally juicy, totally tender. Look at the smoke ring. Fantastic. Like I said, this is going to resemble brisket, because beef short ribs do, in fact, resemble brisket. I'm talking about the texture and the look of it. Very similar. And it lays right in behind the brisket. All right, so I know what some of you are probably thinking. You're thinking, well, man, them big bones on the dino bones, that's the beauty of it. You got two handles, that big old chunk of meat. You're right. I enjoy that as well. But there is nothing wrong with this, I promise you. Like I said, it cuts like a brisket, looks like a brisket, probably going to taste like a brisket, but a little bit better. Now, I would like to say this. There are some meats being marketed out there as beef short ribs, boneless, that is in fact from the chuck. They never had a bone. The bones have actually been cut away from this. This is plate ribs. This is the real deal. It's not chuck. So I want to get that out of the way. And if you search through YouTube, you're not going to find hardly anything on these boneless. I looked. I promise you. Take a look. Look for yourself. I'm not saying it ain't out there, but I couldn't find it. So with that said, let's go ahead and pick us out a piece. And I've got a sauce here that I want to try. I normally don't eat sauce with this kind of beef, hardly ever, but occasionally I do. This is a Cabernet rosemary, and that to me just screams beef. So I took a smell of this earlier. Oh yeah. Let's see how tender this is. Let's see how it pulls apart. Look at that. Just like brisket. So what I'm going to do is take this piece right here, and I'm going to apply a little of this sauce to that, and we just want to try it out. Now, I purposely did not cook this sauce onto this because, as most of you know, if you cook sauce on the meat, it really changes the flavor of it. Now, I did not want to change the flavor of this. This would be the same thing as having sauce on the side with like pork ribs, and just dipping your ribs into it right out of the bottle. Same thing. All right, let's give it a try. That's got a really nice tang to it, good flavor. Hey, it complements the beef. What can I say? And this would be good if you wanted to convert this into a sandwich, a barbecue rib sandwich. I was getting ready to say barbecue brisket sandwich, but barbecue rib sandwich, that would be a good condiment for that. All right, enough of that. Let's compare it to this other half, which was done completely dry, and it was unwrapped. We only wrapped it for the mere sake of letting it rest, just to let it allow that carryover to cook it a little bit more. And it too also has a dark appearance. You've seen it outside, nothing's changed other than I've wrapped it. That's just what happens when you bring meat indoors. So let's take it out of here. It's got a nice bark, it's got some texture. And see, this is all soft that I had wrapped as it cooked. That's a soft bark. It tastes great, but it's soft. This is firmer. So I'm going to take and just cut right here, and we're going to cut right here. Well, first let me make sure I'm going against the grain. I don't know. Let me try it this way. I think I am, but I want to compare the difference. Oh yeah, this is against the grain, and you can see what I'm talking about. You can see the grain running through here. So that's with the grain, this is against the grain. If you're ever second guessing yourself, you know, if you can't see the grain, just do that. You'll see the tubes coming to you. You'll definitely know if it's against grain, and if it's with the grain, you'll see the grain is running. So we are now against the grain. Let me cut me a slice out of this. I'm gonna do a quick taste test. Ooh, that's still piping hot. There again, plenty of moisture, nice smoke ring. Cut us a little bite right here. Here we go. Here's the difference. That is a little bit firmer meat, not as tender as what this is. This to me is almost borderline too tender, but not quite. It's very tender. This has a little bit of body to it. And what I really noticed, it's got a lot better, smokier flavor. All right, so that's the differences. It's firmer, it's very tender, it has a more pronounced smoky flavor, it's really good. I actually do prefer the unwrapped over the wrapped, even though the wrapped is more tender, but it didn't get as much smoke time. And I like this bark on this. Overall, I would say unwrapped. So let me know what you think, wrapped or unwrapped. They both ended up with about the same darkness. And a lot of that on this one had to do with that very dark rub that I started with. And by the way, that coffee rub is excellent on that. Has a really nice flavor. But I do prefer this one overall for the reasons I mentioned. I hope you enjoyed this video, this comparison. And until next time, smoke your ribs.